Welcome back, focused learners. Today, we're diving into a scenario that honestly sounds straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster, but is actually rooted in absolute, terrifying physics. I want you to imagine, just for a second, that the planet you're standing on right now decides to just stop. Yep, hit the brakes. We're going to explore the cataclysmic chain reaction that would tear across the globe if Earth abruptly halted its rotation for just 5 seconds. Obviously, this is a completely hypothetical scenario, but going through this explainer is actually one of the most fascinating ways to truly wrap our heads around the immense, invisible forces that govern our everyday lives.
1000. Right now, as you're sitting there, you probably feel totally stationary, right? You feel like you're at rest. But in reality, you, me, the building you're in, we're all currently hurtling eastward as the Earth rotates at roughly 1,000 miles per hour. Keep that crucial number firmly planted in your mind as we go through this, because it is literally the key to everything that's about to happen.
So what exactly happens when the ultimate emergency brake is pulled? Think about being in a car cruising down the highway. If the driver suddenly slams on the brakes, the car stops, sure, but your body? It wants to keep moving forward. That's exactly why we wear seatbelts. Now scale that up to a planetary level. What happens when the entire globe abruptly halts, but absolutely nothing on the surface of the Earth is wearing a seatbelt? Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1, the planetary emergency brake.
It all comes down to inertia. You know the drill. Inertia is the tendency of objects in motion to stay in motion with the same speed and in the same direction, unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. So here's the absolute kicker. If the solid, rocky mass of the Earth suddenly stops spinning, the atmosphere, the oceans, and literally everything resting on the surface, they do not stop with it. Because of inertia, they're going to keep moving eastward at that staggering speed of 1,000 miles per hour.
To put this into perspective, we've mapped out a 5-second countdown to chaos. We start with supersonic surface displacement at second 1. Then we move into atmospheric chaos in seconds 2 and 3. By seconds 4 and 5, we plunge into deep core friction. And finally, we have to face the bleak post-op reality. Let's kick things off with Section 2, Second 1, supersonic surface displacement. In literally the very first second, the results are just catastrophic. Think about anything, and I mean anything, that is not deeply anchored into the bedrock of the Earth's crust. People, cars, buildings, loose structures, the whole shebang. It's all instantly flung sideways. And remember our number? Because we were traveling at roughly 1,000 miles per hour, this sideways fling happens at supersonic speeds. It is an immediate, incredibly violent, horizontal ejection of everything on the surface. The sheer scale of this initial kinetic devastation is honestly hard to even wrap your head around. Since the Earth's rotational speed is highest right around the equator, those regions would experience massive structural failures. We're talking entire metropolises swept clean off their foundations in a fraction of a second, subjected to forces no human engineering was ever designed to withstand. Moving right along, Section 3, Seconds 2 and 3, supersonic winds and mega-tsunamis. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer disparity in power we're dealing with. A standard Category 5 hurricane, the most destructive storm we know today, features catastrophic winds of about 157 miles per hour. But an inertial hyperhurricane, driven by all that atmospheric momentum, those winds hit 1,000 miles per hour. That is more than 4 times stronger than our worst Category 5 storms. These hyperhurricanes would just scour the globe, completely tearing apart whatever the initial 1-second shockwave left behind. But it's not just the wind you have to worry about. As the planet stops spinning, it instantly loses its centrifugal force. You know centrifugal force. It's that outward rotational pull, like when you spin on a merry-go-round and feel yourself getting pulled toward the edge. Normally, the Earth's spin creates this force, keeping the world's ocean waters bulging out right at the equator. Well, the sudden absence of this force is about to trigger a completely terrifying geographic shift. Without that outward centrifugal force holding the oceans at the equator, and with that massive eastward momentum still pushing all that water, the oceans undergo a massive redistribution. The water aggressively migrates toward the north and south poles. And trust me, it doesn't do so gently. It slams into coastlines as literally miles-high mega-tsunamis, completely rewriting the map of the world in a matter of seconds. The destruction is absolute. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how the chaos shifts. Let's look at Section 4, Seconds 4 and 5, deep core destabilization. Deep beneath our feet lies a liquid iron core, And just like the oceans and the atmosphere, that massive, heavy liquid metal core has its own immense momentum. So here is how it breaks down. Step 1, the core shifts abruptly against the sudden stop of the solid rock around it. Step 2, this shifting of dense liquid metal generates unimaginable kinetic friction. Step 3, because our magnetic field is generated by this moving core, the sheer friction and chaos cause the planet's magnetic field to rapidly destabilize. And finally, step 4, this deep internal violence transfers upward, unleashing global earthquakes and triggering volcanic eruptions all along the planet's tectonic boundaries. The Earth is literally tearing itself apart from the inside out. Which brings us to our terrifying climax. Section 5, the violent resumption. Because you see, starting back up is just as jarring as stopping. When the 5 seconds are up and the Earth abruptly resumes its rotation, it triggers massive secondary shockwaves. Whatever fragile, battered structures somehow managed to survive the initial supersonic sling, the hyperhurricanes, the mega-tsunamis, and the global earthquakes, well, they are now slammed with a sudden violent jolt in the exact opposite kinetic direction. Let's move to the aftermath and see how this builds. Section 6, a reset human civilization. As you can imagine, the post-impact reality is incredibly grim. We're looking at a world of flattened cities, completely pulverized by supersonic winds and lateral displacement. We're looking at rewritten landscapes, permanently scarred by massive earthquakes and volcanic fissures. And because of the sudden loss and return of centrifugal force, we are dealing with permanently altered ocean levels. Ultimately, it takes just 5 seconds of halted rotation to leave behind a completely reset human civilization. It is just a staggering sequence of events to process. So it leaves us asking, could human civilization ever truly rebuild from an event that fundamentally reshapes the surface, atmosphere, and core of the planet in just 5 seconds? Or is this scenario simply the ultimate chilling reminder of the massive, invisible momentum that is constantly keeping us alive right this very second? The next time you feel perfectly still, just remember, you are flying through space at 1,000 miles per hour. And we should all be incredibly grateful that the planet beneath our feet shows absolutely no signs of hitting the brakes.